This is J-Ram.
And this is Billy.
And this is the J-Ram and Billy Show.
And today we're actually going to start a kind of a new segment of our show.
Yeah, we were talking and we've decided that maybe it would be best if instead of just calling everything the J-Ram and Billy Show, we bump it into segments.
Yeah, because, I mean, we talk about everything that interests us. If you've listened to our podcast from...
Day one.
Yeah, from day one, like we had a kind of a different intro where we was kind of like this show is pretty much about anything.
Yeah.
But upon further review, that it could be kind of confusing to a lot of listeners.
So what we decided is, and we'll probably start this for definite next year once we're through with all of our reviews we already have planned.
Yeah.
Is that every month we'll do a certain segment for that whole month.
Yeah.
For example, what we're going to call it is Hot Takes, Wow That's Deep, and then Retro Reviews.
Yeah. So, if you've been listening to our Friday the 13th reviews, you've kind of got a hint of what retro reviews are going to be about.
Yeah, and this episode is actually going to give you a glimpse into what Hot Takes is going to be about.
Yeah, so Hot Takes will be more like controversial issues, like things that normally get people riled up, and maybe hopefully we don't get riled up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and keep a level head on a lot of these topics, but I feel like a lot of these things are really important to talk about.
Definitely so.
Yeah.
Because the only way to reach a middle ground is to have conversation, whether it gets a little heated or not.
Yeah, that's true. And as for Wow That's Deep, those are going to be more on the, it will kind of vary.
It might be some serious stuff, some more silly stuff, but it'll be, it'll just be a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Something that you can listen to, whether you're at work or at school or wherever you are.
Yeah. So it'll pretty much encompass things like philosophy, history,
space, time travel, different things.
Yeah. We've got several podcasts that we have planned for the future that kind of delve into some of those things. So you're probably going to see some of these like interspersed. And then we'll probably have some special episodes, around different holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we've been talking about a lot of different things, and just to kind of give you a little insight as to what our future plans are for this podcast. So, James?
Now that we've got them up to date, Billy, how about we drop this first episode of Hot Takes? You want to tell them what it is?
Okay, so this week, I felt like it was important to bring up these controversial abortion ban laws. And they're not always an entire abortion ban, one state excluded from that. But we're going to dive into it and kind of talk about the legislation, the thought processes that go through with that people go through in these arguments, and kind of delve deeper into why is it a controversial subject, which, topics like these are controversial for a reason.
Well, yeah, everyone has we have different points.
Yeah, we do. We differ on this a little bit. Not too much, though.
No, not too much. Not to where it gets, bad, but...
No. So, James, tell me, how was your week? I don't know if I want to jump into this just yet.
Well, it is a scary thought that we're going to talk about something that could lead to, some serious words being said in a minute.
Yeah.
My week's been all right. I've actually been thinking about this a lot. Because...
Really?
You know what? We're gonna jump into this.
Are you sure?
A little bit. I'll give my backstory, and that'll get us there.
Yeah, dive into the cold water that is abortion.
As listeners know, I was raised in a very religious household. Even though I am liberal-minded, some of those religious teachings still are very near and dear to my heart. And I don't think they're necessarily
nothing wrong
bad.
With that. Nothing's wrong.
Or that there's wrong with it, but it's definitely opinions and feelings that most liberal-minded people probably think are stupid or archaic.
Some would say, yeah.
But when it comes to abortion, it's difficult because I can see the sides of it.
I can see both sides.
I see why people want to have abortions.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely cases where it's more than acceptable. It really seems to be one of the only options.
Yeah.
But there is this part of me that's like, no, it's murder. Fetuses are babies, it's murder.
Yeah. So,
so it's hard sometimes to justify the both sides of the being.
So I want to start out this episode by talking about the history of abortion. And so we're going to go back, pre-1973 and talk a little bit about what was abortion before Roe versus Wade. James,
horror story.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was bad. I've read stories of people who, they were like 15 or 16 years old. This was back in like the 40s and 50s. And, you know, of course, their parents didn't want their child having a child. So
Yeah.
daddy would call up this doctor he knows, and this doctor would come and take this girl off for a weekend getaway kind of thing to some random places, man. So, I mean, when they say back alley abortions, they mean it. Like, that was a literal thing. Like, you could have an abortion in just like an office building or a barn, or, I mean, literally anywhere. And I believe the story that I read was this girl, she was blindfolded and taken in a car with a doctor and another man, taken off to this place, blindfolded the whole way so that she didn't know where she was going or anything like that. They performed the, you know, procedure and, you know, blindfolded her during the whole thing. And afterwards, like, she, you know, it's like a fuzzy memory kind of thing. 'Cause it was, you know, she had blocked it out of her memory.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was kind of like something
traumatic experience.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's the sort of things that happens. And not only that, but I mean, everybody brings up coat hanger abortions.
I mean, it's a gross thing, but yeah, they happen.
Have you ever seen that movie Revolutionary Road?
No.
That movie was terrible, but I feel like if I watched it now, I would probably understand more about it.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's basically like man and wife have marital issues. She's pregnant. She performs an abortion on herself and dies. And that was like, it was...
Wait, isn't that Leonardo and...
I think it was Leonardo.
It's Leonardo and the woman from Titanic. It's if Rose and him had lived off the Titanic gotten together. Alternate theory universe, everyone.
Man.
It's Jack and Rose if they lived.
But that was the sort of stuff that would happen. I mean, it was high mortality rate procedure. It wasn't very safe. It was illegal. So, I mean, when you make something like that illegal, it's not going to stop things from happening. It's kind of like the war on drugs.
People are always going to find ways to do it.
Yes.
Whether it's go to Mexico and have it done, which is, you know, tons of problem there, or if they go to a back alley doctor and have it done, or try to do it themselves. There's nothing we can do to stop people from having abortions. And I think that's something that everyone who's pro-life has to realize.
Yeah. And
that the genie's out of the bottle. There's no way to put him back in.
I agree. So, what happened is eventually we get to 1973. So that was just that was a very quick rundown of pre-1973 abortion in the United States, at least. Probably close to worldwide. I don't know if abortion, I haven't done any research in other countries to see if that was like something that was legal before then in other countries. But in the U.S., it started with Roe v. Wade, which I'm sure that everybody's heard of.
Yeah, we studied about it in high school.
Yeah, it was a big decision by the Supreme Court that used the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which is the right to privacy. I mean, that's pretty much you have a right to privacy, is I think pretty much the summary of the 14th Amendment. And basically and this is from Wikipedia, it says that protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose whether or not to have an abortion. However, it ruled that this right is not absolute and must be balanced against the government's interests in protecting women's health and in protecting prenatal life. It sounds pretty balanced when you put it like that. It does.
Yeah.
The court, this is still quoting, the court resolved this balancing test by tying state regulation of abortion to the 3 trimesters of pregnancy. So basically, it was the first trimester when it was game, according to the Supreme Court. They were like, the first trimester, the fetus isn't developed, it isn't viable, is basically the line that they drew. Because after about 24 weeks, this actually is probably like midway through the second trimester now that I'm thinking of it.
Probably.
But around 24 to 28 weeks is whenever a fetus is able to live outside of a mother's body. And therefore, if it's viable and it can live outside of your body, then abortion shouldn't be allowed, which is something I generally agree with, honestly. Just stating my opinion there, it's wholly different to, have an abortion right before right before you have the kid. I mean, that's a human being. But there's kind of a gray area, a gradient.
For some.
A philosophical gradient, I think. And my reasoning for it is there's a thought experiment that I kind of liken this to. And it's kind of like, okay, let's say, At 240 pounds, you're fat. But at like 180, let's say you're not fat. Where's the line drawn? It's like, okay, if I lose 1 pound here and 1 pound here, where does the line, when do I become not fat? There's kind of like it's a gradient thing, really. Kind of like a gradient. This is my thought process. This is completely my opinion. I'm just saying this, but it's kind of like I was talking to you earlier about like existence. Existence is a thing of like emergence. It's like a thing.
I think, therefore I am.
Kind of. Yeah. But there's this whole problem of how do we determine what constitutes a rational being? And it's like you go from like a single-celled sort of, embryo to a full-fledged baby. Where in that gradient of development is the right place to slice it? You can also kind of look at that billboard from PETA. The one where it's like, oh, you got a cat and a dog and like, where do you draw the line? Like, oh, and then apocalypse, shortage of meat. Like, you just draw the lines wherever you want, depending on the situation. I don't think it's like that, but just to keep quoting this here, the court ruled that during the first trimester, governments could not prohibit abortions at all. During the second trimester, governments could require reasonable health regulations. During the third trimester, abortions could be prohibited entirely so long as the laws contained exceptions for cases when abortion was necessary to save the life of the mother. And that does happen. There are some politicians and people out there who think that doesn't happen.
No, there totally needs to be exceptions for cases of rape, incest, where the mother's life is in danger. Those aren't, at least for me, those aren't like, that's different. That's a case of no, it's completely understandable why you would get an abortion.
Yeah, because you already have like one breach of consent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming with the incest thing. I mean, I guess there is consensual incest. That does happen.
Well, and if it's consensual, you probably carry the baby.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to abort the baby anyway. But yeah, in those instances, you already have one case of like breach of consent.
And you have to also think about the quality of life for that child once it's born. You brought up a very, very good point.
Yeah.
Which is it really great to have a kid raised in a house by people who didn't want him in the first place?
Yeah.
And then you were like, so they end up in foster care, which, as everybody knows, foster care isn't that great.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of abuse, and it's kind of like the new age orphanage system. And I'm not saying that all foster families are bad. Like, there are plenty of great
there are plenty of people who take care of children, who end up adopting the children, who are the best parents you could ever imagine.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is there's already a well overabundance of kids that are in foster care that don't get the care that they need from their families.
No.
And a lot of that, just here, this is my conservative side right here coming out. It's welfare checks. It's checks from the state that gives to these families to support these kids. And a lot of greedy foster parents will just hoard that for themselves and give the child absolute bare minimum. I'm on Reddit a lot, and I read a lot of horror stories from stuff like that. And I've read some really terrible things that some foster kids have to go through before they find a good home. Like, I mean, they move home to home until eventually they find a family who, really cares for them and stuff. But I'm not saying that, like a lot of people would say that I say that, I would rather them be dead, or I think it would be better that they were dead. But as you can tell by the way I'm talking about this, it's not that I would rather want them dead. I would, like, honestly, just to put it bluntly, like I told James earlier before we started recording, it's more of like, if you can cut it off before it becomes viable or before it comes to be existent, then I don't see it as murder. And
the problem, I think, is people will have various feelings of when it becomes existent.
Yeah, that's the gradient thing where, like, really there's
like we were reading about the different stages of development, and like at part 6, there's already a brain forming and separating into 5 sections.
You said in 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So at that point, a lot of people would go, well, if there's a brain, seeming to be a heart developing, all these things that make a human developing.
Yeah.
Then that makes it a human. That makes it a life.
Yeah. But see, like my reasoning is, and see, this is the other kind of point of view, is that like, well, existence as a rational thinking being, which is the legal term of murder, sort of. Like, I mean, when you kill a dog, you don't call that murder.
Some people would.
I mean, some people would, yeah, but I mean, the legal term is basically like a human killing another human being. And I think there's a definite line that's in there, you know, and part of it is like, and one of the pros of Roe v. Wade is that it definitely drew that line. It said, you know what, we're not going to hem and hum about what constitutes existence or anything.
As long as it's before it's viable, basically, as long as it's within the first trimester,
yeah,
whatever you want to do is yours. Once it gets to the second trimester,
then it's up
and
to
it
the
starts
states,
being
kind of
viable. There has to be like a good reason.
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
and by the third trimester, it's okay to completely ban it, except for, you know,
an extreme case.
Yeah. So that was Roe v. Wade, and it was if you haven't already learned about it in school, which I'm sure a lot of people have, you should check that out. Like, go to your search engine, type in Roe, ROE v. Wade, WADE, like Wade. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on Deadpool's name.
Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson. Why did I do that?
Cody,
I'm so sorry.
Cody, who's like our number one fan. Sorry, everybody else. Cody's the number one fan of the show. He's going to get so upset.
Yeah, man. So, that was way back in 1973.
But what about today, Billy? What's changed for today?
Well,
hey, it's gotten better, right? I mean, 73, you say, right?
Yeah, that was
83, 93, 2013.
That was like almost 50 years ago.
46 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, that's a long time.
So, 46 years has gotten better, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you would think. And, you know, you would think, well, I mean, in general, you know, society kind of moves toward a more liberal, you know, way the longer it goes on. It's like,
or just maybe in a more open and understanding way, not necessarily.
Yeah, kind of like a more interconnected, more open to other ideas kind of way. Not really liberal, but well, some conservatives would say it always goes toward a liberal lean.
There are definitely conservatives who are pro-choice.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, especially in the case of like rape, incest, life of the mother, like I really don't know of a single person who is against all of that.
Well,
I don't know anybody who's that.
Turns out the state of Alabama is against all that.
Yeah, and we're gonna jump into that. So, the New York Times has a article that just came out 2 days ago as of today, which is May 23rd. Actually, yesterday was my birthday, James.
Happy birthday, Billy.
Yeah, he actually got me a copy of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
200th anniversary edition.
Yeah, it's got some cool illustrations and stuff, and he got that from Books A Million. There's a plug, Books A Million. Why don't you pay us?
Yeah, sponsor the show. We'll talk about all your books all the time.
So the New York Times has a article. It was just published a few days ago. Hold on. I want to see what date it was.
May 17th, I think it's out at the top.
Oh, 17th? Was that?
Mm-hmm. Today's the 24th.
Okay, so no, that wasn't 2 days ago. That was like a week ago almost. So,
well, today, it just turned the 24th, so.
Yeah, a week ago. So, they have a article on here called Abortion Bans, 8 states that have passed bills to limit the procedure this year. And we have Ohio, Utah, Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama. And Alabama is definitely going to be the hot take on this one. Cause, you know,
they're the ones to first outright ban abortion.
Yeah, they've
every other state you've listed has made it hard to get one.
Oh yeah, they've made it way more difficult. Like, they pretty much took that first trimester and just threw it out the window and was like, no, we're just going to slice that in half and give you 6 weeks, which is what we're about to get into. So, James, you want to take this right here?
Sure.
So, New York Times. Yeah.
That's what they said. The Missouri passed a bill on Friday to ban abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, making that the 8th state this year to pass abortion restrictions that could challenge constitutional right established in Roe v. Wade, which we just talked about. And Alabama legislators have been signed into law now, of course, as everyone knows, have basically banned abortion. Basically, the only exception is if the mother's life is in danger.
Yeah, they don't
make exceptions for rape, incest, anything else. The mother's life has to be on the line for abortion to be okay.
So basically, ectopic pregnancies.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the only thing, I honestly, we're both guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would say we don't really have any authority to talk about this topic, which I kind of find close-minded.
I mean, I think that you have to get everyone's opinion sometimes on things.
Yeah.
I think it's okay, because men are certainly going to have opinion.
Yeah.
Because
we generally do on all this shit.
Yeah, I know, stupid shit. But, but when it comes to babies, what nobody remembers, maybe this is my conservative side coming out, every baby is half and half. Like whatever, for every woman that's currently pregnant.
Yeah.
Half of that thing that's inside of you is made up of the male's DNA. So while it is your choice, your body, your decision, his opinion should matter.
Well, and this is another thing, though. Generally, and if you're in a good relationship with a person, you're going to have that talk way before this is even an issue.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I would say that those sorts of circumstances happen rarely.
More probably.
And honestly,
unexpected pregnancies.
Well, and honestly, they may happen without the father ever knowing. Honestly, because I mean, there's a lot of undercover, kind of clandestine abortions. I mean, it's a thing, and I mean, I'm of the mindset it's kind of like it's half and half, but you don't have to carry that baby for 9 months. Like, you don't have to push it out, and you don't have to.
No, I mean, and I would never make somebody do that. Yeah. But I mean, I've had the conversation before. It's like, if I was with someone and they got pregnant,
and it's just a fact of life. You're going to be a dad. Like, that's how I view it.
Yeah,
and like, you can be pro-choice.
If they decide to get an abortion, it's kind of probably hypocritical, but that ends the relationship.
Yeah,
only because personally, I'll always look at them as the person who murdered my child.
Yeah.
Like, I won't be able to look at them the same ever again.
See,
whether that's fair or not, I don't know.
Yeah, see, like,
but that's just how I am.
I don't know how I would react to it. I mean, like, I've already had this conversation with my girlfriend. If something happens, and I mean, it's not like we haven't used contraceptives or anything like that. Yeah. It's like, we're doing everything by the books. It's not one of those things where conservatives are like, oh, well, you should have been out having unprotected sex. It's not that. We definitely take steps to prevent that.
Sometimes birth control fails.
Exactly.
Sometimes condoms fail.
Yeah. And my mindset is like, well, I'm not the kind of person that's like, oh, it's meant to be. It's like fate or anything, because I don't believe in fate. But I'm also the kind of person that's like, something is telling me I should probably just, be a good dad. I don't want to be a dad. I think I've said on this show before, I personally don't want any kids. And of course that's my now 27-year-old brain talking.
Oh, we're the same age for like a couple months.
Yeah. And, I don't know what my mindset's going to be like 10 years from now or anything like that. But, millennials, our generation is,
weird to think about that.
Yeah, a little bit. But, we generally wait until later to have kids, and there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of them.
More stability, feel more prepared. Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff holding us back, too.
Yeah.
So, stuff that also have in future Hot Takes episodes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Because, I get fired up about some stuff like that.
So fired.
Yeah. Student loans, man. That definitely puts a
preview
anchor on your... Oh, man, it's like carrying around a ball and chain, and I mean...
Yeah.
But it's not going into another topic there.
We're going to talk about abortion.
Yeah, we're talking about abortion. So...
I think it's just hard for a lot of people because it's so... It's an issue that it really is personal. And the fact that it's being politicized like it is...
Yeah.
Is so disgusting and outrageous, regardless of your viewpoints on it.
Yeah.
It should be a discussion that you have with whoever got you pregnant, not worried about what senators say or lawmakers say. Like, this shouldn't happen, basically.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be Roe v. Wade should have all right, that's
that kind of settles it. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be any laws. Like, this is the law. First trimester, you're good to go. Second trimester, there's got to be a good reason.
Yeah.
Third trimester, sorry, you just got to have the kid put up for adoption or something else.
And see, of my mindset when it comes to like the ruling in Roe v. Wade, I think it's pretty reasonable. One, because first trimester, that's a good amount of time to be able to, one, know that you're pregnant, And 2, be able to have that choice and have it done by that time. And also on the plus side of that, the baby's not viable at that point. So it's not like it's still tied to your being. It's not something that can exist outside of your body. Therefore, it is your body.
It gives you a chance to change your mind as well.
Exactly. So I think that is I feel like that was a good ruling. It was very middle ground, I think, for its time. I mean, I'm sure it was extremely controversial even in 1973, just as much as it is today. But, at the same time, I kind of feel like nowadays it's more controversial than it was back then, and that's because of partisan politics.
I agree.
We're more partisan in this country than we ever have been, I think. I mean, other than like maybe Civil War times. I mean, you're talking about...
and people joke, but people talk about it. We're going to get there again.
There's actually a podcast that I keep getting ads on. I've been listening to Stuff You Should Know, as you know, because I talk about it all the time. I've been binging it, and it's one of my favorite podcasts. There's a good plug. Go check out Stuff You Should Know. They talk about just about anything on there, but they have an ad that runs on there, which is... I can't remember the other podcast that this guy hosts. It's a really popular one, but he has another one called It Could Happen Here. And it's basically like he is a news correspondent who's worked, who's been over in 2 different civil wars, and he tells a little bit about those civil wars, and he talks about the similarities of our politics over here and how it could happen here. Like, we could have another civil war, but it wouldn't be necessarily like North versus South. It would
be Republicans versus Democrats.
Yes, and it would be very like urban versus rural, which is kind of what our politics has gerrymandered itself into, which that gerrymandering fires me up too.
That'll be another hot take.
Yeah, that'll be another hot take, definitely.
But so while Roe v. Wade should have settled the debate, basically.
Yeah.
What's happening now? That's right.
Yeah, so Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, and Ohio, this is quoting from New York Times, they stopped short of outright bans, instead passing so-called heartbeat bills that effectively prohibit abortions after 6 to 8 weeks of pregnancy, when doctors can usually start detecting a fetal heartbeat. Utah and Arkansas voted to limit the procedure to the middle of the second trimester. So, I mean, those honestly, the middle of the second trimester, that sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like
you actually taught me something pretty interesting, though, and that these heartbeats that they're talking about are not real heartbeats.
Yeah, it says there's a article on Wired, which I'm not going to say that they're not partisan or they're not completely unbiased, because you can tell in a little bit of their language that they are definitely leaning more on the pro-choice, So, I mean, they use terms like blob of cells and stuff like that, which I wouldn't say it's like a quote, partially organized blob of cells. I mean, I would call it a fetus. It's a fetus.
Yeah,
because it's not yet a baby.
Because what they say is whether you think a 3 to 4 millimeter long, partially organized blob of cells is a human individual or not.
Yeah, so I mean, they have a little bit of charged, language in there, but
here's the thing: everywhere does.
Yeah,
whether it's Wired or the New York Times or Fox News, or everywhere has some level of bias.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead. This is what I told James.
This is what Billy told me, which is actually pretty interesting, and is what's kind of starting to change my views, which is that these heartbeats aren't really heartbeats. But what happens is at 6 weeks, the embryo is forming what will eventually develop into mature systems. And there's an immature neurological system, and there's a very immature cardiovascular system. That's a quote from Jennifer Carnes, an OBGYN at UC San Francisco and Director of Research and
Obstetrics
and Gynecology at Zuckerberg's San Francisco General Hospital. The rhythm specified in that 6-week abortion bans is actually a group of cells with electrical activity.
Not yet a heart, really.
No, it's just like an electrical beat.
Because it still needs blood flow.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, a fetus still needs blood flow, and it doesn't necessarily have a heart yet.
And that's what that heartbeat at that stage of gestation is.
Yeah,
There's no kind of cardiovascular system just yet.
No. I don't, and I believe I've read, I can't remember if it's in this article or not, but that doesn't actually, okay, yeah, it says, hold on. No, that's talking about viability. Never mind. I did read somewhere that it takes about 12 weeks for the heart to actually start forming.
Yeah.
So what we're actually detecting are it's kind of like proto cells that are going to become a heart, because in different parts of our bodies, there's different types of cells that do different types of things. And the cells that make our heart are of these type of cells. They have a consistent rhythmic electrical pulse, and that's what makes our heart. And so that's what we're detecting. And basically what happened in 1984 when they first detected these fetal heartbeats at about 6 weeks was that our ultrasound technology had gotten so advanced that we were able to detect that electrical activity. It's not necessarily a fetal heartbeat. That's kind of like a politically charged kind of thing, in my opinion, because I'm not going to say anthropomorphizing, because it actually is a potential human being. And I'm not going to hee-haw around the whole fetus or like baby kind of thing. Like, there is a difference between a fetus and a baby, but they're both potential human beings.
But here's the other thing you told me, which is really interesting, is that for some women, maybe a lot of women, it can take longer than the 6 weeks to even realize they're pregnant.
Yeah, that's true.
So they've already missed their chance to get an abortion.
And not only that, but I mean, like me and my girlfriend, we use contraceptives, and if we're not planning,
blasphemy.
If we're not planning,
the Catholic Church will be so mad at you.
Well, if we're not planning on having a kid, then we're not going to be looking for that. So, I mean, we could possibly go 6 weeks without ever finding out that she's pregnant, because we wouldn't really know what to look for. And also, a lot of girls have irregular periods. It's not always every 28 days.
And it's sometimes caused by birth control.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword there. Like, yeah, you have this birth control, which can help you prevent pregnancies before they happen. And that's all great and fantastic.
But it can also mess with your cycle, so you
don't really know. Yeah, when it fails, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm just feeling kind of sick or if this is morning sickness. Mm-hmm. So that's why I have an issue with the 6 week thing. Because 6 weeks is kind of hard to find out that you're pregnant if you're not planning on having a kid. Two,
and if you're planning on having a kid, you're probably not planning on aborting it.
Exactly. And also, 6 weeks is also kind of short to find out how long you're pregnant and then be able to plan it. I mean, think if you're working.
Yeah, you have to take time off work. You have to find out where you're going to go.
Yeah, and you've got to travel.
There's so many other things that you have to do.
Yeah, so it's definitely binding. It effectively is a full abortion ban, because at 6 weeks, that's really no time.
Yeah.
So
let's get right on the subject though. What is the Alabama law? Because I know that's what everyone's thinking about right now. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there, like we do, love YouTube. We love watching the Philip DeFranco show, and Philip DeFranco and other YouTubers have had whole episodes dedicated to this new Alabama law.
Yeah, which threw me off guard. I didn't know anything about it until I saw the Philip DeFranco show, which of course he releases stuff so frequently and so quickly. Like, it surprised. He must have a huge team behind him.
Every day he releases a video.
But when he posted that, of course, I was on Facebook, and then I started seeing it all over Facebook. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to this New York Times article, and just quoting them. It says 2019 is different because advocates on both sides are seeing the appointment of Justice Brett Kavanaugh, which he was appointed, 2 years ago? Was it 2017?
Last
You remember
year.
There was a bunch... Last year? I know there was a long time where he was being contested.
There was that trial.
It was like the sexual assault thing.
Which turned up nothing, I guess.
Yeah, basically. Honestly, it kind of seemed like it was kind of fabricated as a political agenda.
Just like the reports of my collusion with Russia.
Total exoneration.
Exactly. Total.
Okay, look, we don't hate Trump. We
don't.
He's just
he has
such
a very
an easy
funny voice.
He's just an easy target.
He's a Cheeto. He's a Cheeto man. He's a overgrown Oompa Loompa.
Because I guarantee you, I would do the same thing for Bush
or Obama or anyone who said something stupid.
Yeah.
So you're purposely just naming. Well, no, not Clinton. But
Bush.
For a second, I thought you were naming just Republican presidents.
Okay, no, I'm not.
But no, everyone makes fun of Clinton. Like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. That became a whole catchphrase.
Oh, yeah.
In the 90s.
Man. Or no new taxes. That was a big one for HW.
Depends on what your definition of is. Yeah. But what we're saying is, while we can poke fun at the politics, it's not good to ignore them completely.
Oh, no.
Like, these are harmful things that are being done.
Yeah. So what happened with Kavanaugh? Or Kavanaugh.
I think it's Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh. What happened with him is basically when Trump appointed Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, it kind of tipped the balance toward a more conservative lean because Brett Kavanaugh is a right-leaning judge. Mm-hmm. So this emboldens these states to make these laws that are, definitely going to be contested. And
so do you think that the people who proposed the Alabama law
they know it's not going to be held up.
Fight.
They know it's not going to be held up, and they're going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court because now
what
they
they're
think
really trying to do
is abolish Roe v. Wade is what their end goal is. And there are politicians that are quoted in saying that they want to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Completely go back to pre-1973 coat hanger, back alley abortions.
Yeah, which will cause so many more deaths and so much more needless violence.
And there are people out there who say, you know what, if you're trying to kill that baby, you deserve to die because of it, which is just something that I just find abhorrent. I cannot think like that.
Alabama has basically banned abortion, I think, except in the case of
life of the mother.
That's
the only time.
Doctors who practice abortion will get sentenced to 99 years in jail.
Yeah, which I find messed up mostly because a rapist only gets hell, we saw, who was that scumbag who raped that girl behind the dumpster and he only got 3 months? What was his name?
I can't remember.
You know what? His name doesn't deserve to be spoken.
No, it doesn't matter. But yeah, there are so many cases of people committing heinous, violent, or sexual crimes, and they get light sentences.
A slap on the wrist. Just because
here's a doctor. Yeah. Oh, I don't want you taking a coat hanger to yourself and killing not only aborting that fetus, but also killing yourself. Let me do it. Oh, you were an undercover cop, and now I'm going to jail for 99 years.
Yeah. It's kind of it's just all around messed up. And so, of course, the ACLU, Southern Poverty Law Center, all of these. Would it be better in their interest to not challenge it? No. Because then you've got a whole state of women who are oppressed, really.
That's true.
But
then by not challenging it, it doesn't get to they don't get what they want. They don't get to take that to the Supreme Court.
I'm thinking, this is my prediction. It's going to get taken to the Supreme Court, but I really don't think that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. And my reason is because this is such a hot topic issue. This is going to be huge. And it's going to make it.
It's going to be one of the defining things of our generation.
It's going to be very difficult for a lot of the swing states to be able to get Republican votes after that, because this is definitely a GOP push.
Oh yeah.
Not to just pick on Republicans, because Democrats have just as much to rail on them about, but this is serious. This is a big issue. And this is something that, me not being a woman, I find abhorrent. I find it terrible. I just don't see.
Because they're taking away that right to privacy. They're taking away that right to choose.
And really it comes down to, it's oppressing a certain demographic, which is women. Overall, that's what it is, because we have Roe v. Wade. It's a reasonable, good layout for how abortion should be conducted in the U.S.
And it still puts limitations on it.
And it still has limitations. It's a good middle road thing, but you've got these people who've got religious agendas. I'll go ahead and say it, because really, when you think about it, there's no argument you can give that's non-religious that's about this at all. I think somebody sent me a podcast that was Ben Shapiro, and of course he's Jewish. And he gave sort of like a non-religious argument against abortion, which I don't say that you can't posit that sort of thing.
It just depends. Like I said earlier, it could be you just view it as human life.
Yeah, and there's
from an earlier stage than the current.
Well, it's quote sanctity of life.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like
grown women have the right to that too.
Yeah, and grown women have bodily autonomy too. You can be on a hospital. Whoop. Almost dropped my Red Bull. Well, I did drop my Red Bull, but it was empty. You can have I mean, you can even have bodily autonomy after you're dead.
Yeah.
But you can't have bodily autonomy because you want to get a 4 millimeter long fetus out of your body before it becomes a full-fledged human being. Like,
I know. It's ridiculous.
It's just so
But now,
stark, the contrast.
let me take a moment
Yeah.
for all of the listeners who are pro-life, who think abortion is murder. What is a better way? Because I'm sorry, but we have to realize, and I do still think that abortion is murder.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing that, like I said earlier, the genie is out of the bottle. There's no way to put it back. We can't stop abortions.
I mean, it's been happening since the dawn of time.
And there's reasons why we shouldn't, legitimate reasons why we shouldn't stop abortions.
Yeah.
Why Roe v. Wade is the best choice possible. So what should pro-lifers be focused on? Instead of the losing battle of banning abortions, which is not going to ever happen.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of other layers. There's a lot of other layers to this, too. I mean, like, a lot of women don't have the option to get their tubes tied before a certain age or without consent from their husbands or stuff like that. I mean, that's a thing. Like, when my mother had me, she wanted her tubes tied, crushed, burnt. That's what she'll say. She's like, I don't want any more kids, because she already had my sister 8.5 years before me, and she had me with my father. And was basically like, after this kid, I'm done. And the doctor definitely did try to talk her out of it and was like, are you sure he's wanting that? And she's like, I don't care what he wants because I ain't having another kid. And like, you better cut these things and stomp them and burn them.
I see your mom. I see it happen. I see the conversation.
Yeah, I can see that too. But that's a thing too. Like, in a lot of places, you have to be of a certain age or have so many kids before a doctor will be like, yeah, I'll do that.
Whereas if you're a man, you can just go in.
I don't know if that's 100% true, because I heard...
That's the story that's always been told.
Yeah, that's the story. I actually want to look into that.
Yeah.
Not because, this is my thing. Like, I don't want kids, but I also don't want to have a vasectomy, because I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I do want to have kids. And I heard it's reversible, but it's complicated. And
any kind of surgical procedure, reversible or not, is complicated.
Yeah. So, there are little, things that step back.
But like we were saying, what should people who are pro-life focus on?
Sexual education.
Some ideas. Yeah, that's one of them.
Sexual education is a big one.
I work at a retail/pharmacy store. We sell things called Aftera and Plan B, which are emergency contraceptives.
And some people call those abortion pills, even though it only works within like 3 days.
Even science will tell you you're not pregnant in the first 2 weeks of your pregnancy.
Really?
Yeah, because I looked this up, and what happens is the way they give you your due date is they plot out a timeline. And how they plot out that timeline is by going to the start of the first day of a woman's menstrual period. The first week of pregnancy starts with the first day of a woman's menstrual period. She is not yet pregnant.
Yeah.
During the end of the second week, an egg is released from an ovary, and that's when you're most likely to conceive if you have unprotected intercourse.
Yeah.
So during the first 2 weeks, which is really what those Aftera and Plan B pills are meant for.
Yeah, it's to pretty much stop it right after contraception, right after conception.
Yeah, it's basically after you realize, oh no, the condom broke, or oops, I forgot to take my pill. If you have birth control.
Yeah.
So, I think you're absolutely right. What we need to focus on instead of trying to ban abortion is spreading the message of safe sex practices, condoms, birth control.
And not just abstinence only things like we got in high school.
because that's never going to work.
Yeah, we both went to LHS.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had, we never got...
We surely graduated.
We never got sexual education. I don't even think in biology class.
Nope, we sure didn't.
I think I learned about the sexual organs because I learned about like the structure of a vagina and the structure of...
How many girls did we graduate with that were pregnant before the end?
I don't know.
We had a couple who got pregnant while we were in school.
I know of one girl who was pregnant when I was in 8th grade. That's young.
That's real young.
Yeah, and she carried it to term. I don't know if that was even a possibility with her, if she could have terminated that or not, or if she may have not wanted to, honestly, and it was kind of sad because she was kind of the weird kid because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're pregnant in 8th grade, you're kind of the weird kid.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder the circumstances of that too.
Yeah, that's where it gets weird because maybe that's not.
Well, yeah. And also there's a whole lot of things I could delve into, but I don't want to make any assumptions
No.
about anybody's character or anything like that. And not hers is not what I'm talking about,
No.
but like maybe her family's.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just, it's
so
way
back
out
to
there.
back to the main subject.
My
so
thing
let's
is,
focus
you
on
can't-
education.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So abortions
They're
or
never-
safe sex
they're-
education.
They're never going to stop abortions.
Yeah, like choose one. Safe sex education has been proven to lower pregnancy rates. And if you're lowering teen pregnancy rates, not just teen pregnancy rates, but just pregnancy rates overall, like giving people access to birth control, contraceptives and stuff like that, making it the norm, you know, not something that is shunned upon. Like, there's a lot of families out there who, you know, refuse to let their children have birth control or any sort of contraceptives because they're like, oh, well, I'm just giving them a free pass to have sex. And I think that's morally wrong. So
No, you got to realize that not teaching them about this stuff is going to lead to worse things.
yeah, it's going to harm them in the future.
I had a woman come in and she was heartbroken because her daughter had,
yeah,
she came in to return a pregnancy test
yeah,
because her daughter had already taken care of it. And what she means by that is, I'm guessing, is that her daughter had taken one of those emergency contraceptives.
yeah.
It was an older woman. She was clearly crushed. But the thing is, what she said to me, and I don't think she's really thinking about it, is that her daughter already has one child who has autism.
Yeah.
So I'm almost wondering if maybe what was going through her daughter, she's like, I just don't understand how she could do that. Well, if she has one child with autism,
That's a lot of care.
maybe
that's a lot of attention.
a lot of care, a lot of attention, a lot of time that it takes to take care of that child. But maybe she's worried that her second child will also have special needs.
But not only that,
Then she'll
but
have not one, but two children that she'll have to take care of, maybe for the rest of her life.
well, I mean, even if she carried a normal baby to term, like you've got to take care of, you know, an autistic child as well as another
not
one,
that-
and dividing your
yeah.
attention between the
And
two.
again, it's nothing against children with autism. It's just that
Yeah.
they require a lot of care and attention.
yeah, and maybe, you know, her hands are full already. She can't
Yeah, she
support
can't.
another one.
But people don't stop to think about that. So we're not trying to shun people who get abortions.
Yeah.
We're not trying to say that it's wrong across the board. No, there are definitely, even someone like me who still struggles with whether or not how they feel about abortion is able to look at it and go, no, there are definitely circumstances and reasons why abortion is the option.
Yeah. But like I said, my prediction for the future of this ruling, it's going to happen. I guarantee you this is going to go to the Supreme Court. I 100% guarantee you, because that's what politicians want, because they feel that the scales are tipped in their balance.
Are tipped in their favor.
Tipped in their favor. I'm all over the place.
So now let's take a second.
yeah.
What's that? What does it mean if it works? Their plan works.
Then that means the abolishment of Roe v. Wade, it will no longer be upheld. That means that abortion can be banned. Like, I mean, of course, it'll be kind of like up to the state.
How
at that
many
point.
states do you reckon?
Gosh,
Let's just take a guesstimate. Like, what states do you think are just?
it really
I mean,
depends
it's
on.
kind of sad to not sad, but like kind of maybe hypocrite. Not, I don't want to say it's not racist. It's not hypocritical, but it's like
It's something wrong.
regionalist maybe. Bible Belt immediately is what first
yeah.
pops into my mind.
Oh, Bible Belt,
Most of
definitely.
the southern states, it's illegal. You can't do it.
Yeah, it's going to be. Now, I don't know if a lot of states will go as far as Alabama did. And I feel like the only
I
reason.
feel like a lot of them might go that far.
I feel like the only reason that Alabama did that was to cause this Supreme Court thing.
they made it extreme to raise the ruckus.
Yeah, and if you look at polls from like general public, like most people do not think that it should be like that. They think, you know, okay, rape, incest, life of the mother, which Alabama allows that last one, but I mean, even in just the case of rape and incest, that should, you know, that should definitely be covered. That's not something that you want to put anybody through. Like, I'm not going to have somebody get raped in an alleyway
I don't know if incest.
and then make
I don't
them
know if incest should be covered because
because it's Alabama.
No. Yeah, but
I'm
not
bad.
only. No, that was funny. But no, and I'm only saying that because it would come under rape.
Yeah, it would in a lot of instances.
Like the only time it's weird to hear people say rape and incest because the only time, like we said already, the only time somebody who has incest would abort is probably if it was incestuous rape.
Yeah, or you know,
Because
unintended.
if they have, well, yeah, we're unintended.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're committing incest, they probably want the uncle daddy baby.
Just imagine if, like, you had consensual sex with somebody you didn't know you were related to and then found out after you were pregnant. That's just a whole messed up scenario.
Well, looks like my baby's going to have an uncle daddy. Yeah.
Probably like a 1 in a million sort of chance, but still, I mean, maybe that's what they mean by that. Maybe.
Maybe.
In those instances or something like that. Gosh,
But
that would be terrible. I just cannot imagine.
Uncle daddy baby.
But my prediction is that I don't believe that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. I think
I think
has
there's
too
enough
much
supporters.
It has too much precedent. The public would cause an outcry, and I mean it already has. Just in general with this. I mean, you hear us talking about it. It's definitely something that's big. I mean, we don't generally talk about controversial topics, but I did say we're going to start talking a little more about stuff like this because I feel like it's important. And it's not just, I don't want people to bash us for like our opinions on stuff like this.
Let them bash us because you know what? I think we are doing and have done a very good job of being pretty balanced.
I'm trying to be very reasonable about it. I don't know.
I understand how people are raised, especially in this area. They're raised conservative. They're raised Christian. They just have this value.
Yeah.
On different things than other people.
Yeah, and I mean, like, some people believe, like, oh, well, if it's conception, then that means God definitely said, I want this baby to live, sort of thing. But then it's kind of hard to think like that when you see, like, these ectopic pregnancies and, like, these, like, out of rape.
It's a difficult subject. And again, it's
a
one
different
of these
mindset
things
that just maybe I can't tap into.
Yeah.
And even when I was I was very, conservative, very Christian. I still was not of the mindset of like, oh, well, rape. Well, I guess God wanted that baby, so maybe you should just carry it to term because that's what he wanted. I don't think, I mean, I'm trying to think back to when I was more like that. I really don't think I ever held any sort of extreme opinions like that.
I think the main thing we need to stress now that we're getting kind of toward the end
is
that whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, it doesn't matter because it is pro-choice.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like we've said it time and time again, there's no way to stop abortions.
Yeah.
People are going to do it, whether it's illegal or not. Isn't it better? If you value human life, isn't it better to put instead of putting both lives in danger?
Yeah.
Not letting that, like you said, not having a child be born into a home where they're not wanted.
Yeah. Well, not just that too, but it's kind of like, instead of like pro-life versus pro-choice, it's kind of pro-safe abortion and anti-safe abortion, because that's generally what it is. Because you're either for the advent of modern technology to be able to do this in a safe environment.
Vaccines.
Yeah, kind of like that. Or you're against it and you think, well, if they want to go through that, then maybe they die. And that's fine. I'm cool with it, which is just not something that I can get behind. And, if we get flack for it, then whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
because we're not saying that there should be no consequences for your action.
Oh, no.
Because a lot of people say, oh, abortion's just a way for people to avoid the consequences of their actions.
Yeah.
And it is for some.
Yeah.
But what people have to realize is there are genuine, honest to goodness, real reasons to get abortions.
Not only that, that's the vast majority of them. I mean, people like to point toward, like, Democrats saying, like, oh, like, where they want to be able to have, like, late-term abortions and stuff. People don't get late-term abortions just because they don't want to have a kid. They don't wait 7 months to decide, hey, you know what? I don't think I want this baby. I think I'm going to abort it.
They go 7 months and then something happens.
Yeah, like
the baby dies.
Like, or there's, like, spina bifida. Like, this kid's not ever going to have a decent life, may not even live a few days outside of the womb. Like, just save you that trauma. Get it over with before you have the kid and develop a further attachment to it. I mean,
so I think you've helped me, Billy.
I think that's really the main rub with it is like, late term abortions. Yeah, it sounds terrible. That like, I used to be so fired up because I saw these videos of like, this is what a partial birth abortion is called. And like, basically like they pull the baby out and cut it up into little pieces and like, yeah, that's a thing. And only in certain, like, I mean, if the heart is outside of the fetus, like
Yeah.
that baby's not gonna live.
No, it's
and
not.
you're gonna have to carry that baby to term and watch it die on a table. Like
And
that's
worse.
so bad.
That's worse, yeah.
Like it's so bad. And
so I think you've helped me. I
that's
think
like-
you've kind of helped me
yeah.
open my mind a bit with this and realize that while I have my feelings and my opinion, that's just what they are. They're
Yeah.
my feelings and my opinions.
Yeah.
I shouldn't use them to influence another person's rights.
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of my thing is like, you know, you can have your opinion and you can live by what you want, but you
And like we
kind of
said,
can't force other people to do that. 'Cause-
Just have open and honest communications with your partners too.
yeah, that's a
like-
big thing. Like, hey, I don't want to have kids.
Yeah. Or
Like, if that's a problem, maybe we
think-
shouldn't, you know, have.
I think abortion is murder. Like if you're not, if you are okay with having an abortion, then we need to make sure we're practicing safe sex because
I don't want that ever to come to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if it ends up coming to that, it's gonna end our relationship.
Yeah. Well, man, we've talked for just about an hour on this. Can you believe that?
Well, it's a hot. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
that
a hot take.
I'm sure our hot. Yeah, I'm sure our hot takes will probably be our longest episode.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, more than likely.
But we hope you have learned something. Maybe had some thoughts that you haven't had before.
Yeah, and definitely let us know what you think about this topic.
on
Like
our
if you
Facebook
have
page.
if you have some information about anything that we haven't covered, or maybe some aspect that we haven't looked at, we want to hear about it. Definitely follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. Just look
J.
up.
and Billy Show.
I think it's just J Ram and Billy Show. So it's well, it's the J Ram and Billy Show, but it's www.facebook.com/J Ram and Billy Show. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We do some Let's Plays and some more lighthearted,
Reactions
lot more lighthearted
That's
stuff.
that's general lighthearted.
yeah.
stuff.
We'll do like reactions, Let's Plays and stuff. And right now,
Try not to laugh.
Try not to laugh. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You can find us on YouTube. YouTube. Actually, I can't give you that URL because we don't have enough subscribers to have our own URL yet. So
Yeah. So what are you doing? Go and subscribe, like right now.
yeah, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe. Ring the bell.
If you have the Podbean app, you can find in the description. I think also in Spotify. I'm pretty sure on Spotify it has our. I need to look that up. I need to find us on Spotify.
That's how honestly. That's how I listen. To
Really?
this. Yeah.
I've always used Podbean, but you can find in our description. I'm gonna have links to our Facebook and our YouTube. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think about this topic. Tell us if
you
we
like
missed
the idea.
anything.
Yeah, and like if you like the ideas for our new formatting of like having just some hot takes one month, some retro reviews.
And wow, that's deep.
Yeah, let us know
Yeah.
if you like that kind of idea.
Yeah. So, and if you have any suggestions for future topics, definitely let us know. We are all ears. We generally keep like a backlog in our brains for about maybe 3 episodes ahead. So we've already got a good idea of what we're going to talk about in the next few weeks. But
honestly,
definitely
if there's something you want us to talk about, we'll definitely try to, push that toward the forefront.
yeah, we'll get that done. Also wanted to say, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, good. This will give me a chance to do it.
Oh man, I'm going to have to think about it.
We now here at the J. Ram and Billy Show will take a second.
Yeah.
As was brought up earlier, Billy's birthday was the 22nd.
Yes.
So, from all of us here at the J. Ram and Billy Show, to you, Billy,
Aw.
happy birthday
Don't
to
do that.
you.
Don't do that.
It's public domain. Happy birthday
I don't think
to
so.
you. It is. Happy birthday, dear Billy. Happy birthday to you.
Aw.
Yay. Happy birthday,
I
man.
may or may not be taking a trip to the Buffalo this weekend. I still haven't decided, which is only 2 days away. You'd think I would have already made a decision yet, but I'm like, it's Memorial Day.
Yeah, you don't want to
weekend.
hee and haw about it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to look it up and find out. But yeah, if you have any ideas for future topics about hot takes, anything that's really grinding your gears, definitely let us know.
And so, without further ado, this is J. Ram,
And this is Billy.
and this was J. Ram and Billy's Hot Takes.
Y'all have a great night.